Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. Well, as I bring about the end of this week and my thoughts, I've got something in my brain. It's a question of timing. Yeah, so I might even say it's time for your video thought for the day. Timing is important. Ecclesiastes tells us there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And I think that's true. I know that's true. Isaiah said, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will come quickly and I'll make these things happen. God's got perfect timing. And this came to my mind because I shared with you earlier, I was at the parliamentary prayer breakfast in Parliament in London earlier this week. And it was really interesting. I mean, the Speaker of Parliament opened it and members of Parliament offered prayers and others and all, but before the prayer started, we were about 3 tables back from the dais, and I saw up on the table closest to the dais this tuft of blonde hair. And the blonde hair, I thought, that looks like Boris Johnson. Now, I've got to warn you, I'm notoriously poor at figuring out who people are. My wife has had great fun with me over our years of marriage over that. But I thought this was him, and I took a picture of the back of his head just so I could show Becky, and I'll add it here so you can see it. So anyway, I took the picture and thinking that looks like Boris Johnson to me. Well, sure enough, as the singing ended and right before the praying started, he got up and he walked out and he walked right past us. I shot one more shot just to make sure it was him. It was him. And I was talking about that with a friend of mine, Scott, and Scott said to me, he said, there's some irony there. Now, background. Boris Johnson had a number of his cabinet resign on him that morning, and it's ultimately led to his resignation, which happened last night. And my friend emailed me and said, Boris Johnson was leaving to go tend to a crisis when maybe the best thing he could have been doing was to stay in prayer for the crises. And it made me think about timing, that all too often I'm afraid we get balled up in praying about things when they're already in emergency mode instead of praying about them ahead of time. And it's like, okay, now that the world's about to fall apart, let's seek divine intervention, when we ought to be communing with God and seeking his intervention long before the world's falling apart. I think one of the keys of leadership and one of the keys of maturity is having a sense of timing. I mean, you can do the right thing at the wrong time with disastrous consequences. You need to choose the right action at the right time, and that includes our walk with God. So I want to give you, going into the weekend, some ideas to think about in terms of timing. First of all, are you praying about the things that are important to pray about long before they become cataclysmic? I wonder what would happen if Boris Johnson or other leaders would be in prayer on a daily basis about what they're doing, why they're doing it. Are they being led by God or being led by emotions or both or neither or whatever? How are they working with the people they work with? What are the dangers and all? If we pray about these things way ahead of time, I think we'll not only find ourselves in less crises, but when we're in those crises, we will already know that God has walked before us in them. And beyond that, I just think our timing needs to be such that we treat people and situations with the right recognition that if we've not prayed over it and we're not timed right, we're not guaranteed that the results are going to be what we think they ought to be done. So I think we need to look at our prayers. I think we need to look at our motives. I think we need to look at our actions and really do so with prayer to timing. Ready, aim, fire. Not ready, fire, aim. It's all in the timing. And that's your video thought for the day. God bless you.